Coming to you from Studio HQ. You're tuning in to Think Indie Podcast. I'm Dodgy in the mix, mixing it up with Paul Rabbit Gomez. What's happening?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another great show.
Thank you. And Manny, the main man. What's happening?
So good, man. So good. Ready to go. Like this.
Excellent. Uh, well, I mean, if this is your first time listening, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for another Think Indie podcast, all about indie comics. Just before we dive in, though, we're going to shout out our sponsors. Are you an aspiring comic creator but don't have the tools? Look no further than Thermond Comic Creations. There are sessions for different ages and different levels of experience. If location is an issue, that is not an issue, as classes can be held digitally via Zoom. Jump on to thermondcomiccreations.com. And Manny, what's happening October 1st?
Buying the Comics Day.
If you're a creator like our panel here today, reach out to your local comic book store, make it an event, celebrate local creators. It is Artist Alley in your LCS. Any news yet on Buying the Comics Day? Anything since the last time we recorded?
We have a few things for our event. I haven't heard much from other people. I have a meeting with the people of this Slover Library next week.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can get everything, all the panels that we're gonna do and everything, straight. And then it's just cruise control until the day, the big day.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And just remember, guys, it is an event for creators as well as local comic book stores. For those who are not participating, it's a massive disappointment because this is a way of getting the two parties aligned and just getting fans out there to support the local creators in your area. I mean, yeah, it should definitely be seen by all, but definitely check it out.
Yep, no doubt.
Okay, it's going to move on to a creator question. So this I think we touched a bit on. I think our last time off air, Rabbit, and I thought I'd bring this up because should aspiring creators seek out marketing agencies? You've had experience, Rabbit. Why would you think a creator should seek out a marketing agency?
Well, first of all, I mean, being a new writer and creator, I did seek out somebody, and they helped me a great deal. I learned a lot from them, not only of what they were doing, but how they were doing it and what I should be doing. It kind of jump started my career and did help me get that first Kickstarter fully funded. Without an agency, I don't think I would have been able to. I think if you don't know the ins and outs of it, you definitely need somebody to help you and guide the way. If it's an agency, that's great. If it's a friend who's in the industry, that's fine too. But I mean, if you don't know anybody like I didn't, hire somebody. Hopefully they'll have the experience that you need and point you in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And Manny, have you had that sort of experience as a creator, and would you recommend it?
I had, but I didn't have a good experience. But it was in part. It was basically, I guess, lack of communication. So I would say it would be a good thing to get like an agent or our agent or something like that. But you have to know exactly what you want the marketing agent for. That way you will get exactly what you want. And you won't waste their time and they won't waste your time either. Right? You get everything straight from the beginning. And you go from there. Because then if you don't tell them exactly what you want, it will be a waste of money for you because it's not for free. They don't do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll try to get get you different things that you might not be interested in. Maybe all you want to do is get into like a big convention. Maybe you want to sign with the big two. Maybe you want to whatever it is that you want to do. There's people that can help you achieve it. But you gotta let them know what exactly it is that you're looking for.
Yeah, and Rabbit, what would be the risks that you'd be looking out for? What are some triggers that you'd think you'd be looking for in pros as well as the cons?
Well,
with
and
marketing.
one of the main things that Manny did mention is make sure you're talking and asking what they offer, because
Hmm.
one of the cons, I guess you could say, is whenever you get into a deal and not know what you're getting into. One of the first things that
Right.
I asked was, how many streams are you going to be able to put me on? Are you going to be able to put me on interviews and whatnot? Uh, One of the main things that I was looking for was someone who could help me build a Facebook, or not a Facebook, I'm sorry, a Kickstarter, and so I could kind of learn from them, and that's what really happened. I I went with Ink Marketing, and they were great starting out. They helped me an enormous amount whenever they showed me how to do a video and how to put a Kickstarter together, and they did talk me through all that. A lot of agencies don't do that. Some of them will just do it for you and not kind of include you in there. So it really is
Hmm.
important. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, and know what you're going in for. Know how much it's going to cost, and know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Great tips. Great tips. Well, thanks, guys, because it's very important that we're not like being led on, not taken advantage of because of the lack of knowledge and being naive. But yeah, I really appreciate this. And then yeah, just reach out, just speak to people who've done agencies and what have they experienced. Because if there's a trap that someone's fallen into, you don't want to fall into the same trap.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on now, and wow, we're gonna talk Webtoon. And the book, and look, and this book is relatively new. It's got a lot of viewership. Um, it's quite, yeah, it's quite the ride. I got to tell you. And I don't normally would sit there and just flick through, maybe read one chapter, but I was like flicking through like 5 chapters in one sitting because it was just like yeah, chair gripping. It was so crazy. And that is Machine Uprising by Hongjacga. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, sir, but this is a Korean creator. It's about a character named Yonggi Han, and he's a talented soccer player who has an accident and has a synthetic arm. And the synthetics that we're seeing here are like almost has like a hybrid, zombie apocalypse versus Rise of the Machines. I'm
Yeah.
going to talk to the panel. I'm really excited to ask you guys. But Rabbit, what did you think of Machine Uprising?
So, having read some of this, and I didn't know where this was going to go, I got to admit, out of all the webtoons that I read, this is definitely one of my favorites. It really has to be up there. It
Yeah.
was so unique, so different, and so engaging that definitely had me on the edge of my seat most of the time. So I I wouldn't I would recommend this to just about everybody because it really was put together very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you say this is for like sci-fi geeks, right?
Yeah,
Sci-fi fan?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Manny? What did you think of the art?
The art was very, very good, man. It's very obviously it's Korean creators. It's very manga influenced, but I think the colors is what if this was the Golden State, the creative team was the Golden State Warriors. The colors is Steph Curry. That's the way I feel, man. The colors are they just pop, man. They just tie everything in really, really nice.
Hmm.
Um, the it's funny you mentioned the how they the androids, they're kind of weird. They kind of like a zombie.
Yeah.
They reminded me of Akira when
Same.
Yeah.
the guy that has the crazy arm.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah.
this reminds me kind of like that, but it's like a nano zombie apocalypse. Basically, it's like it's a crazy story, man. The artwork is so well done.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
the lettering is amazing. The only I guess I would call it. I don't know if I would call it downfall, but it was the only thing that I don't know how it will work is if they try to print this in a comic book, in an actual comic
Hmm.
book, because it's made specifically for a
Yeah.
webtoons. in a way that there's a lot of spacings. When you bring it down, there's a lot of white spaces, there's a lot of black spaces from one panel to the other. So I don't know how they would format that to an actual comic book, but for the format that they're, presenting it, it's a great work of art, man.
Yeah, I think the white spacing alone can be can be edited out, but I think that the reason for the white spacing is just to let you comprehend what just happened, and also gives you a little bit of suspense to see what happens next. And and I found the action is very, very smooth. It almost feels as if though we're watching like a TV series. This was made into a TV series. I would absolutely watch the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there'll be no reservations for that. I wouldn't even think twice, because if we're going to get this in a TV show, oh my gosh, Netflix, please make it work.
It's almost like The Walking Dead in a dystopian society or something like that.
Yeah.
Because this panel right here, you look at that android coming at you. It's like a zombie.
Yeah.
It's almost like an android zombie. It's scary as shit.
Yeah, because the nanotechnology actually latches onto the humans and just takes over.
Yep.
Yeah, so they just use a human as like a host, or just like an embodiment. But even the scenes where the toaster and the kettle was like chasing the guy, man, that's so freaky.
Yeah.
And then it builds into becoming like a figure with a fan as a head. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the utilization of the scrolling, and like you are talking about the white spacing to kind of break up the scenes, it just works so well. There wasn't a lot of them, a lot of the webtoons that did that, but the ones that did that well, there were very few and far between, and this one was definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, seriously, 6 episodes. I mean, it's got a lot of fan buzz at the moment. Look at this. We've got an image here of all the technology from within the House Jazul combining. So it's like, when our powers combined, we have captured Toaster.
Man, and how detailed is everything?
Yeah.
This is like the perfect example for young creators. Use reference when you draw cards, when you draw buildings, when you draw toasters, when you draw phones. Don't think that you can draw it from your head. Nobody does that.
No. We've got internals of a hard drive as the head here. Is that what I'm seeing? It looks like the hard drive of a computer.
It might be. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like the old computers. That
computer tower. Yeah. It's crazy. The artwork is amazing.
Real good.
Yeah. So definitely, recommended, guys.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. The art is absolutely insane. All right,
sure.
We're going to be moving on to the book review now, and we had a creator just having a website where if you click on the link, you get a free PDF if you enter in your email address. And I very happen to have done that, and I got a copy of a book from a creator based in Los Angeles of Nigerian ancestry, who's educating us a bit about their past. And this is a book called Sango, a fictional tale of how a Yoruba general became a god king. And I just got across the board. Maddie, what did you think of Sango, especially the art? If you could talk to me about the art in this book.
Man, it's a book that is very well made. I've never heard of this book before. The artwork is very clean. The colors are very vibrant. It almost looks like a Disney animation type of thing, like El Dorado or something like that. Very well done. The character designs are very well executed. The story is, there's a lot more than the art. The artwork is beautiful. But I'm very happy that he's actually showing different parts of Africa that is not the same thing that we always see, like the huts and there were actual kingdoms in Africa,
Yes.
And he's showing all this, and actually the whole story. This may be, I mean, obviously this is a fictional story, but it's based on the religion from one of the, I mean, I don't know how many religions they have in Africa, but I know it's one of the religions in Africa. I don't know how you call it in English, but I know in Spanish it's Santeria, which is basically they transfer saints through, the spirits go into your body and you talk to people through. It's a whole crazy thing. But Shango, which is the name of the name of this book, is actually one of the deities in that religion, the main deity. So I don't know how, if this continues, they'll show that he becomes that deity. But yeah, this book was, man, very well done from beginning to end, and I'm definitely interested in reading more about it.
Yeah, same. Rabbit, what did you think of the writing in this book in Shango?
I definitely thought that it was detailed and well versed. I mean, it really did kind of capture you and pull you into it. It was a little bit long, but it really was well served.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Manny. I do appreciate reading books that I'm not familiar with, or stories, like especially when it's historical even mythology in general. Like I find it intriguing to be educated about something I'm not familiar with,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just be taken aboard this journey from Shango, from being like in the story we read, he's still the like the general, he's still the leader of the army, but he's kind of as a little bit annoyed with his brother who's just behaving like a king, whereas Shango's a little bit more reserved about trusting people, about knowing that sometimes power is vulnerable. You're not going to be in power forever, and that's a
Yeah.
problem a lot of leaders have, is that they think that they're untouchable, and then you see leaders over the years just get dethroned by their own people because they thought they were untouchable. You know?
Yeah. And you see how when he goes to talk to the deity right here,
Mm-hmm.
um, he's basically asking for, a way to save his people, because he
Mm-hmm.
feels like his brother, even though his brother is the king,
Yeah.
he's like giving into this evil emperor or something, because he's scared. He thinks that he
Yeah.
can win the battle. So basically, this deity is telling him, well, you're gonna have to basically kill your brother.
Yeah.
So he's put
Yeah.
in this situation where, are you really telling me to kill my brother? Like, there's got to
Yeah.
be another way. And they're like, well, no, you have 12 days to decide. Oh my God. Yikes. That's a tough decision.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's
crazy.
the thing. And I mean, I've got to shout out the creator. So his name is Olumo, Olumofin.
Olumofin,
Olumofin.
yeah.
I'm really
Eight
sorry
Olumofin.
I'm butchering your name, but yeah, and I just I had to Google search the name because I wanted to make sure that I have a little bit of contrast of who the character is based on real life knowledge, and to find out there was like a real thing. There's like little statues that are like, like 1,000 years old out there. It's just crazy. Like,
That
I just really
religion,
dig this
that
stuff.
religion is still very much alive to this day.
Hmm.
And it's in different countries now, not only in Africa, because as they brought slaves to Puerto Rico, to the Americas, they brought their religion, and even though they couldn't practice it in public, they always kept that religion between themselves. And
Hmm.
to this day, there's parts, I know in Puerto Rico there's a lot of parts, mostly down south, where the population of African, like not necessarily African American, but the black Puerto Ricans, very dark
Hmm.
skin, they have a lot of practitioners of that religion. And
Yeah.
so that's why, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I kind of know what they're talking about, because I've seen
Okay.
it.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. Like, the story in itself is fictional, but they're using real, you know, aspects of their religion. So that's
Mhm.
really cool.
Yes, and if those of you who are interested in picking up Shango, you can pick it up from Amazon Kindle, and also scan this QR code. And also go to Africa comichouse.com, so you can definitely check it out. I beg your pardon, Afro Comic House. Is there a similar spelling to the group that you're associated with, Manny?
Was that?
Comic House. HAU.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Afro Comic House.
yeah. I like Comic House, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check it out. It's worth a read if you want to learn. And like we did only get a sampler here, so there are more stories available. But definitely check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. What's up with the spirit? You know what? I was really excited to check this out because those of you who are not familiar, Spirit has been around for a long, long, long time. It's from the golden age of comic books, and the name you might have heard, but just think it's a myth or just think of it as an award, the Eisner Award. Well, it actually was originated from a man who the award was named after, and that is the one and only Will Eisner.
Yep.
So Will Eisner was a comic book writer artist, and and picked up the 80th anniversary of the Spirit, which was released in 2020 because the original book came out in 1940.
Right.
And Rabbit, we talked about this a week ago about the greatness of Will Eisner. What was your fondest memories of his creations?
To me, it really was his unique paneling and just the way you don't see that like
No.
nowadays. The way he did it and his uniqueness, it was just different. It was great. That really
Mm.
was everything from anything that he did to me. It was really his paneling and the way he just drew stuff.
Yeah. And I love how he drew the name of the
Yeah.
title into the background. I mean, we sit in this panel right here. I know you guys who are listening to us cannot see it, but we've got a picture of a house, and in the roofing along the top, it's got the word "spirit" written in there, and there's his trademark signature on one of the edges of the building, and then just a brief summary of the story on the other side of the building. Like, that's absolutely insane, and I wish more comic book creators would do this. But I guess it's hard because if you're a writer and you're hiring an artist, like, I don't know how you'd be able to put all that together. But when you're a writer artist,
You could.
you could absolutely. And Manny, we just talk about the art of the man Will Eisner. What were your biggest takeaways?
Well, Will Eisner is one of the true titans of comics. There's to me, he's in the Mount Rushmore. He's Will Eisner, is Jack Kirby, is Joe Kubert. You know, there's only a certain few that I consider like the titans of this industry. And even in the 40s, when he came out the gate, his artwork was so far ahead from everything that was being put out. It was like unreal. To the point where he was outselling Captain Marvel. He was outselling his reach was far more than even Superman. He had like 5 million weekly readers,
Yeah, that's
which is
crazy.
crazy. And he incorporated, like you guys said, that whole the building with the spirit. That became a staple in the comic.
Yeah.
Every issue he had a different way of doing that. I've seen some that he did it with the smoke. I've seen some of those illustrations that he did it with, like in New York when in between buildings they have the clothes
Yes,
hanging.
I've seen that.
And I've seen one illustration that he did where the clothes are hanging in the wind, and they're moving them in such a way that they rewrites the spirit. I mean, he's such a creative mind. He was leaps and bounds, ahead of everybody around him at that time. I think the only one that could match up to him was Kirby when he came to in his with all his powers in the Fantastic Four. But Will Eisner for the longest time was just on top of the hill, man, with the spirit. and he became such a staple in comics that, you know, to this day, I don't know how long has it been since they haven't put out a comic, but everybody knows who the Spirit is.
Yeah.
He's just such a cool character, man. He was a genius. I mean, Will Eisner was a genius.
Oh, without a doubt. And I really appreciate how like his art is sort of like just I don't know how to put it. It's like half cartoonish and half surreal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And the thing that got me with the Spirit, right, that wasn't impacted by the Comics Code of Authority because a lot of EC books that were similar, doing all the crime books, were all like taken off air after the the Comic Code of Authority came about. But Spirit was still around because I guess it was in a way it was crime, but it wasn't really touching the boundaries of being cancelled. If I can,
because he found a way, the same way that Jack Kirby used to draw. They draw action. They didn't draw
right,
violence, right?
that's right.
You rarely see Jack Kirby draw somebody hitting another person. You see the explosion. The same
Yes.
thing with the Spirit. You don't see that much, you know. I mean, at least from the ones that I've read, maybe there are a few, but for the most part, you see him, you know, the gesture and the guy flying or whatever, you know.
Mhm.
And he didn't follow the trend of trying to be gory just for gory's sake, you know.
Mhm.
So that's why he stayed who he is, and everybody just kind of went, you know, down the,
Yeah.
you know, the drain, I
And
guess.
yeah, true. And I think a lot of fans may know the Spirit from the movie that came out in 2008. What did you guys think of the movie? I haven't seen it, but I heard so many bad reviews about it that I'm not inclined to watch it. But have you guys watched it?
I watched part of it.
I
I
did.
mean, it was kind of different. that
I
that
wa-
really is the only word I have for it. It was really
yeah.
different.
I
Yeah.
watched it. I mean, they try to make it really stylized, but I mean, the Spirit stories are goofy, you know. You
Yeah.
were talking about a character that came up in the 40s, so they kind of try to catch the essence, and try to make it very stylized, which is and a lot of people criticized how the Spirit looked in the movie, because he looked
Mhm.
black with red, and in the cartoon, in the comics, he's green with red, and what they don't realize is that he is black and red in the comics. He just uh, Will Eisner drew him green in a greenish color, so he stood out because
Yeah, from the
if he
background.
did
Yeah.
everything black, it was just gonna be a black smudge everywhere. But
Yeah.
the whole point of him being a spirit is like he has to be in the shadows and all this stuff. He cannot be bright green, you know.
Mhm.
But it's just he found a way around it. But yeah, they just try to make it like he was supposed to be. But you know,
Yeah. And I think Frank Miller, who directed the film, co-directed the Sin City franchise. I think they tried to carry that sort of that essence
Yeah.
into this movie, and I don't think it. I think it just bombed out. But
yeah.
Gabriel Mack is a great actor. I'm kind of disappointed that the movie didn't pan out so well. But I don't know. I just wish I could have heard good reviews that make me go want to go watch it because I always try to support our comic book movies.
Yeah.
Um, but just going back to the creator, the art in the book. So, I mentioned before the art style is a little bit cartoonish in some ways, but so well detailed. And you've seen these body positions and like even this big guy, he's got his head stuck in the turn wheel. Like I thought that was so clever. I actually thought that was like fantastic to see. And this book was made in the '60s, so this wasn't a like a fresh book. This is old, and to have this sort of violence during a time when the Fantastic Four was coming out, and I mean, look at just how polished Eisner's art is here. Like that's crazy, right?
Absolutely, and right now you're looking at it through the through the prism of all the comics we have today, you know.
Yeah.
But this could be like it can come out today and it'll still be looking good. But if
Yeah.
when
Darwin Cook drawing it.
right, but when you actually
Yeah.
look at it and analyze it and the time that it came out,
Yeah.
most of the comics that were coming out were literally just static
robotic.
images.
Yeah.
This guy was just throwing all kinds of, you know, positions, different size panels. He was just another a whole different league, man.
Yeah, there's a bit of Darwin Cook here that I can see, a little bit of Bruce Timm, like, right? Am
But,
I wrong in saying that? Like some of the
but
way that the
but it's the opposite. It's the
Yeah.
opposite. You can
Yes,
see
exactly.
you can see this work in their work, you know.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this one got me. Okay, I was so happy because, like, we all know Dick Tracy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. So we've got a character here named Nick Stacy. It was basically playing homage plus a parody of Dick Tracy, and I thought this was absolutely fantastic, especially when he he punches a guy in the face and his fist comes out the other side.
Just fired.
Oh, this made me so happy. And like,
Yes,
and I was reading about like Al Cap and Al Slap, who's a parody of Al Cap. And just for reference, there's an image here of Little Abner. So Little Abner is a character created by Al Cap, who's basically meant to be like a ladies' man, but he's basically a hillbilly with massive massive. What are they called? Timberlands. So he's wearing massive Timberlands right here.
The boots.
Boots. Yeah.
Nice big boots. And this is Little Adam, who's basically playing homage or parody.
That's some kick-ass artwork too, man.
Yeah, but you think about it, right? This is Eisner, you know, taking on characters, playing homage, but in a parody, but in a very respectful way. And I don't think he would have done this without getting some consent from the creators who were still alive back in the day. But and I just really dug this. I thought this was so interesting and great, and it's just the things that we don't really hear about from Eisner. And then we see this one here, guys, and it's very dark, very eerie, almost has that EC feel. And this is all within the same book that we read. Like, this is crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at the paneling and just the way he goes from one to the other, breaking some of the panels, but staying inside and just changing from one to the other, just seamlessly.
Yeah. And the middle panel is like almost like he wrote this with a typewriter. Right? Isn't that crazy? Like, yeah. I mean, seriously, he's not a creator to sleep over and or to sleep on. Yeah, no, he's absolutely genius, and you're right, Manny. He's up there on the Mount Rushmore. Not only indie creators, but comic creators in general. Like, absolutely insane. Fantastic artists, and would love to do another episode of Eisner, just talking about different stories as well as different levels of the person. But I think indie comics have a pioneer here that's really we only know Eisner now of the awards, so we really want to touch base with more Eisner.
Which is funny because when you said we were going to talk about Eisner, that's the first thing I asked. Well, we're going to talk about the award. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
No, the person.
Yes, the person, because there is a human in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And
I said, cool.
And I think it's great though that the Eisner Awards were created in his lifetime, and he's actually won a couple of Eisner Awards himself, ironically.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, he has. He's won a couple of Eisner Awards.
That's hilarious.
It is. But I mean, I'm really happy that he's alive to see it happen, and I think it was around since 1988, so it's not like it's a year before he passed. He was still alive, I think, 20 years. So it's crazy.
And he enjoy the fruits of his labor, because he's one of the few creators from the golden age that actually make good money from his character. because he always kept the rights, and he published it through newspapers, and he had it in a whole bunch of newspapers through syndication. But then he went to DC Comics, he went to various companies, and the characters still stay with him. So he made a good living in comparison to other major titans in the industry who didn't enjoy the same luck as him.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're gonna move on to Indiegogo, and I saw this one, and I was like, because I was so disappointed. I did pick up a book; it got cancelled, which included a friend of mine, so I was a bit disheartened. But I found another book to talk about, and I thought we'd bring this forward because think about the character Dracula, written by Bram Stoker, to actually have a living ancestor create his own version of the Dracula character. I could not overlook this. So this is Clint Stoker's Dracula, an ode to the classic, written by genuine descendant of Bram Stoker. What did you guys think of the actual premise? So I'll talk to you first, Rabbit. What do you think of the idea of having a modern day Dracula?
I thought it was definitely interesting. Of course, Dracula's been done so many different ways and so many different times. There has been so many modern versions. This one I felt was very unique and different because of him being a lawyer as such, and in that fabric and the way they utilized him. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yes, definitely. And then, Maddie, what did you think of the art style in this book?
Man, this is what I mean by when I say the artwork has to fit the story. This artwork is absolutely perfect for this type of story. It's black and white and just gray tones, a few zip tones here and there. The style is very detailed, but in a way simplistic. But the artist completely masters the use of shadows to create just the perfect effect. Man, it's absolutely beautiful to look at. The premise is cool too. I'm actually gonna I got one of these. I got the graphic novel, the hardcover one with I got cover Kelsey Shannon's cover, which is oh my god, I love both covers are awesome, but the cover that he's just sitting down and he
With
has
a glass of
that
wine?
cover. Oh my god,
Wine?
man, it's not wine.
I know. That's why I did the air quote. Sorry for the listeners out there. I did an air quote when I said wine.
Yeah, but
we know it's not wine.
Yeah, but this cover is fantastic as well, man. Yeah. But I prefer the other one, so yeah, I got that one.
And yes, and I think that was the one I shared with you guys, right? And then Manny's like, dope.
Oh my god, I loved it, man.
But I just got to shout out the creators. So writer, of course, Clint Stoker, artist Donald DeLay, Eric Weathers on letters, cover A, Kelsey Shannon, and cover B by Eric Kneat. Yeah. So I think the Kelsey Shannon is one with the wine, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But look, it's it's a great looking book. Just sorry, let me just find the image that I'm looking for. So with the PDF copy being at 20, I thought that was a bit high. What do you guys think about that pricing for a PDF copy of a book?
Whenever I first saw that, I was like, that is a little bit. Of course, it is a 56-page graphic novel, so I could understand it being a little bit higher. 20 is a little bit higher than I would have thought.
Yeah.
It being so close to the actual amount of the book was kind of surprising as well, because I believe the book was 25 for the first book, and then the hardback was 30. Is that right? 30?
It's almost like you're right. It is kind of steep, but in a way, there's a lot of people that are gearing towards digital, and I guess they don't mind paying that much because they just don't have the storage.
Well, that and you don't have to pay shipping at that point.
Yeah,
well.
right. And so if I don't know, I got the graphic novel that I can actually hold in my hands, and it's only $5 more.
Yeah.
So it made more sense to me. I want to have something I can hold.
Yeah, because the annoyance with it, like, and not towards the creator, not just talking about in general, that this book is $25 US, 35 Australian, and the fact that it only ships to UK, Canada, it ships to Australia. I beg your pardon. So it does ship to Australia, but if you're from another country that it doesn't fit that criteria, you miss out of actually receiving a physical copy.
Right.
And that's just something to consider. And the fact is, like, yeah, you're not paying for shipping, but you're paying nearly the same price. Whereas you think, like, maybe if I spend $5 more, pay for shipping, I could actually get a physical copy. So I don't know. I that's just my belief. But I'm not discrediting the creators, integrity or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just a personal opinion. I honestly would think $10 would be a good amount,
right,
for a book of that caliber. I mean, it looks amazing, and
Okay.
I imagine the content in there is probably worth every penny. But it's just the fact that you can't get it shipped to you, and you got to pay $20. Whereas, it just bothers me a little bit. But again, I'm not discrediting the credit or to the creator or anything like that.
It's funny we're talking about this because right now on the Buying the Comics Day page on Twitter, we're having a whole huge conversation about how much indie creators should charge or what's the good basis to charge. Because I suffer from that. I've been undercharging all my life, I guess. So I learned a few things, and it's a really good conversation. It's funny that we were talking about that. It's just I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Because the thing is, we talk about the books. We got to talk about how readily available it is for a lot of people. Like we want people all over the world to be able to pick up these books. We want we don't want to limit them to the country of origin that the creators live in. We think about a lot of people that we hire are from overseas, right?
Yeah.
And they can't even get a copy themselves. That's quite disappointing.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyways, it looks like a beautiful book. Yeah. Just let me know when you get it, Manny. I might want to borrow it off you.
I'll send it to Australia.
All right. So moving on to the Kickstarter now, and this Kickstarter, the creator reached out to me, Anthony Stoke, and it looks like a very, very interesting book. And Manny, you read Decay number 1. So let me just shout out. So it's Decay number 1 and 2, Revenge Tour. It's 2 books available. The original book was released a little while ago, and now Anthony's re-releasing this book in a twin set. Anthony Stokes. Manny, what did you think of Decay number 1?
The subject matter is very powerful. And it's especially with the how things that are happening in the United States and stuff like that, with shootings and stuff like that. It's very poignant, and it's how human beings will react if somebody like loved one died, and how you try to bring them back or something like that. So the premise is very, very interesting. The artwork, I feel like it's serviceable. The interior art is serviceable, but it kind of frustrates me because the cover art is done by the same creator that the interior art is done by. So, but the cover art looks so much better, so much detail. The colors are so much vibrant. And then when you go in the interior, it's the art it's not terrible. It's okay, but compared to the cover, it's like it's far less detail, I guess I would say. And And I think if the whole book would have looked like the cover, since it's the same artist, it would have been, far, far superior.
Yeah.
Uh, it's tough. I guess when you do comic book art, it's you have to get a lot more work done. A lot more pages. But again, the art works. The art works, and it tells a story. Very clearly. But I just being an artist myself, I notice little things like that.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the idea. You are an artist, and it's your right to critique art. But you're right; it is serviceable. But in terms of the story, though, what did you think of the story overall?
The story is really good. It's crazy because two stories we talked about today, they talk about different religions, voodoo and stuff like that. This she's basically a voodoo uh practitioner, I guess. His the main character's sister,
Hmm.
and she never talked about anything with their parents because their parents were Catholic. So she's explaining that to her brother, and he's actually there's a very important part where he asks her, why don't you ever bring them back, like
Yeah,
our parents when they died? And she's like, why would you even ask that? Like, why, it doesn't work like that. And then when he died, when something tragic happened, and spoiler alert, damn it, um,
dun, dun.
then she does basically what he was telling her, which is, I'm sure issue 2 is gonna be crazy because she said it to him very clearly. It never works out how you think.
Mhm.
It never works out the way you want it. So I'm sure some crazy stuff is gonna be happening in issue 2, which that's the important thing, is telling the story, and it's making it interesting. It's just
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's very controversial, the topic. Rabbit, what did you think of the Kickstarter campaign in general? What are your overall thoughts with Decay number 1 and 2?
I thought it looked pretty good. The Kickstarter was put together very well. I think the one thing that kind of caught my eye was the pricing list. I did see that he was actually charging for a signature, which I, I'm kind of surprised. Most new writers and creators, artists, I don't see charge for signatures, but other than that, the prices look pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah.
because I know
Unless it,
we did Coffin Comics before, and even Brian Polita, he just has an option. Do you want me to sign it or not? And if
Right.
you say
right.
yes, you'll sign it. But there's no cost involved. I think just some creators may not be aware of what it means to have something signed, because I think that should be a choice for the actual for the fan. Like, they may want it signed, they may not want it signed. But having to charge for it, yeah, I don't see that as being. I don't know. I wouldn't. If I were a creator and was selling a book, I would sign all of them. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah. That's the way.
unless told not to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I even bought a book from Chapter House Comics, but bought Captain Canuck #1, and I had it signed by everyone, and I didn't expect that. I just thought I'd buy a copy, and I had the
Yeah,
entire team sign it. You know what I mean? It was crazy, but I yeah, look, and again, we don't want to discredit the creators, but I think that there is a few things here we're just pointing out that as fans as well as creators ourselves, we need to look out for. Uh, so we'll just go through the credits here. Anthony Stokes is the screenwriter turned comic book creator. Mark Oliver is a self-taught and started drawing since he was a child. He's a big fan of Jim Lee, so he's been working professionally since 2015. And then we've got SK, who's actually a friend of mine. He is based in Australia, and he does the lettering in
okay.
this book. So, how did you find the lettering overall? So, I'm
I
talking
thought
about a friend of mine,
I
The
thought it
le-
looked pretty good.
yeah, the lettering was really good, actually.
SK, or Stephen Cock is his real name, is it? Yeah, I've known Steve now for a few years, probably about 5 to 6 years now. Through the comic book scene, and he's a creator. He's got his own books that have been out through Kickstarter. And it's really good to see him being sourced out by other indie creators to do the lettering. And yeah, I might ask him for a favor one day.
Yeah, he's the lettering looks really, really good, to be honest.
Yeah. No, definitely. But look, in what sort of genre would you say that people would find in this book, Manny? Like, what kind of fans would like it? Decay number 1 and 2.
This is I don't know. I would say, I don't know, supernatural, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure with issue 2 is gonna be horror, because it's gonna be when you're dealing with bringing back from the dead. You're talking about reanimated corpse and all that stuff. Yes, that's that. You're going to the supernatural horror stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we actually haven't seen what the aftermath is.
Right.
You probably would see that in issue number 2, and having read number 2 and seen a lot of having read number 1 and seeing a few panels from number 1 being in the Kickstarter program, we actually don't see what the aftermath is, which I think is the best part, because we're not, we don't know what's going to happen. So we're really only commenting from what is seen in issue number 1.
And actually, one of the Kickstarter tiers is a cover reveal for issue 3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's I think it's 40. If they reach $4,500, they'll reveal the third cover or something like that.
And just speaking of books, so we talked about the PDF copies. So we've got a digital catch-up, issues number 1 and 2, $7 US, which is 10 Australian. I think that's a very good price.
Yeah,
right? That's a very good price. I mean, they're probably not as large as combined they would be actually larger than the previous book mentioned. So.
Well, and again, it really depends on who's out there, what they're putting out. I know whenever I put my last one out, I put all 3 of them for $8, and that would have been 50, 60, 70 pages or so for $8.
That's a hell of a deal.
And just my single book was $3 for 22 pages. But again, I'm not known, so I mean, he was probably a little bit more known.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, and probably the name can also.
Yeah,
the name can also sell. Maybe
for sure. Yeah,
Nostradamus or something like that, and be an ancestor of a great writer or philosopher. Oh well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. But overall, like, we'll go across the board. What were your biggest pickups in today's episode? I'll start with you, Rabbit. What have been your biggest takeaways?
Well, I think I enjoyed talking about if you want to go hire somebody to help you whenever you're advertising your book, that was definitely a big thing. That Webtoon comic, like I said, that was definitely one of my favorites right there.
Oh yes, yeah. And how about you, Manny?
I don't know, man. I enjoyed the books this week, and I'm really happy that you picked that Clint Stoker's Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't expecting that, and that was a pleasant surprise. Surprise.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, because again, just want to find bit of variety in the mix, and I just saw that and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not going to pass this one up."
Mm-hmm.
And what are the odds that an actual relative of Bram Stoker is still alive and making a Dracula book? I mean,
why not?
No, he's gonna make a Van Helsing book.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Van Helsing's been a little bit overdone, I think. So
yeah.
It's kind of nice that we're going for the antagonist, like
he got to go with the family business.
Exactly, right. Yeah, because I mean, he is a lawyer, so he does suck your blood dry anyway. So
that's cool. Yeah,
he should have been a loan shark.
Shoot, man.
Yeah. But no, I think for me, my biggest takeaway was how great Machine Uprising was, because I did try to just look at some new books, and I saw the cover, and I thought, "Oh, this looks good." And then having like flicked through it, like I flicked through like I think 3 or 4 pages. Like, guys, we got to talk this book here. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of just just a gem amongst the rough. You know, like
Yeah.
And that's the thing with comics, with indie comics specifically. We could find gems anywhere. You know, just check out the local creators or just new creators in Twitter, Facebook. They might just give you a free sample like we got with Sango and just be like, okay, you got to read this.
Yeah.
And I just love books that kind of educate you. And I think the biggest takeaway as well for today is talking about pricing of books. I know you mentioned it. You've mentioned it on your social feed too, Manny. And I think that is something that we need to consider for another episode of Think Indie. But if anyone is out there who have any questions you want to ask, or if you have any ideas of new books to share, please let us know. Just up at Think Indie Pod on Twitter, as well as on Facebook, Think Indie Podcast.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So just gonna wrap up. I am Dodgy in the mix up with Rabbit.
Have a great one.
Likewise. But yeah, no, it was lots of fun. And guys, just remember to to keep thinking indie. That's the plan. And just look at new content. Just go to a local comic book store and just ask for indie comics. You never know what you'll find.
There's a lot of gems out there.
Absolutely, there is. And I'll see you all next time.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.